Well, Mets fans, it turns out that a ace may actually be on the move sooner rather than later due to Pat Ragazzo's recent report. And yes, the New York Mets and Yankees are both involved in his reporting. We're going to break it all down next on MetCast. Welcome back to MetCast, friends. Always, I am Ray. If you're enjoying this content, I ask you to like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you never miss news like this. So, from Pat Ragazzo, we have a tweet that was just sent out along with an article, which we'll get into shortly. Due to Dylan Cease's interest, the Padres have had scouts on the Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Orioles, Rays, Cubs, and a team that had yet to be revealed in the Phillies this spring per league source. That could be huge. We all know the injuries that the New York Mets and Yankees are dealing with. Now, I don't think the New York Yankees have what it takes to get a guy like Dylan Cease, considering they have the 29th ranked farm system, according to MLB.com. The New York Mets are closer to 12 or 10, wherever you kind of look. But the New York Mets obviously have been ravaged by injury. Yes, we have Sean Manaea coming back. We don't know when Frankie Montes will be back, but we've spoken about this all offseason, how the New York Mets need to acquire an ace. Supposedly they were in on a couple different pieces this past offseason, but nothing came to fruition. I want to get into Pat Ragazzo's article. Let's give it a look. Okay, Mets fans. So here is Pat Ragazzo's latest article that just dropped within the last couple of hours. NL East News: Phillies interested in Dylan Cease per trade source. San Diego Padres starter Dylan Cease has been a hot name in the trade market this offseason, with the Mets, Yankees, Phillies, and other teams showing interest. He goes on to say, we're just 12 days away from opening day, but there's still some trade buzz surrounding Dylan Cease's name given injuries to top aces such as Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. Now, the Mets, who have spoken to San Diego Padres about Cease this offseason, have had their fair share of pitching injuries, but nothing major enough to warrant a move of desperation for a rental starter. Now, to me, this would not be a desperation move. You're adding to an already good rotation. You add him. Look at the guys we're probably going to be vying for at the back end of this starting rotation. It's not really good. And keep in mind, lefty Jose Quintana badly wanted to return to Queens for another year, but the Mets stood firm and Quintana wound up signing with the Milwaukee Brewers instead. According to John Hamm, the New York Post, the belief is Cease is unlikely to be traded since the Padres view themselves as a contender in the National League. However, that hasn't stopped San Diego from placing scouts on a number of teams' spring training camps. Among the teams the Padres have been scouting for Cease interests include the New York Mets, the Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, Tampa Bay Rays, Chicago Cubs, and a team that is yet to be revealed in the Phillies series, per league source. The Mets, NL East rival Phillies, and New York knocked off the NLDS in 4 games last October. Already acquired a lefty Jose Luzardo from the Miami Marlins earlier this winter. That said, the Phillies head baseball executive David Dombrowski is always looking to improve the club and could dangle a number of top prospects in a deal for Cease that could help the Padres compete in the short and long term. Now, let's be honest. The New York Mets did have those conversations this offseason, and maybe, just maybe, the New York Mets hearing that the Philadelphia Phillies may be involved, maybe you want to block a trade like that. How badly do you want to add an ace to this team? He's only under control for 1 year, but you might be able to get a lot out of that 1 year, especially if you have World Series aspirations. You saw MLB.com drop their lineups in regard to who's got the best lineups throughout baseball. It's the Dodgers and then the New York Mets. If you could improve a rotation, have a top 5 pitching rotation, which you probably would have, adding a Dylan Cease, making Sean Manaea your 2, Kodai Senga your 3, David Peterson your 4th. That is one hell of a rotation, adding a guy like that. The Phillies rotation features former New York Mets Zach Wheeler, obviously Nolan Arenado, Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, and Luzardo. They may have to send a starter back to the Padres in a deal, which would be more than worth it for the Phillies if they were to land the ace like Cease. I agree. Cease is a legitimate ace. a legitimate ace. With Juan Soto added to the fold, the New York Mets are pretty good shot at capturing their NL East division titles, their first since 2015. However, the Phillies have stacked the rotation and will become a lot richer if they were to land Cease. I agree. Totally agree. Time will tell whether Cease gets dealt before the season, which is now just 12 days away. I totally get where Pat Ragazzo is coming from in regard to this article. And if I'm the New York Mets, I do not want the Phillies landing a guy of that caliber, sticking him right behind Zach Wheeler. That might be the best 1-2 punch in baseball. And the New York Mets, let's be honest, we're going to be relying on our lineup to put up runs, which is kind of the new day and age of baseball. The starters aren't going as long, but a guy like Dylan Cease, how often do they become available? You take him not only away from San Diego, who would be another contender in the National League. A lot of people are sleeping on San Diego, who will put up a hell of a fight in that Western division with the Dodgers. Obviously, on paper, they're not as good, but they have a very formidable lineup and one of the best pitching rotations in all of baseball. They still have the Yu Darvish, they still have the Michael Kings and Dylan Cease. That is easily a top 6 or 7 pitching rotation in all of baseball, if not higher. And the New York Mets are well below that. They're probably mid-tier, I would say between 13 and 17, depending on health. How much is Sean Manaea going to be able to pitch this year? Kodai Senga coming back is still not 100% at this time. Who knows what's going on with Frankie Montas? That might be $17 million blown out the water by David Stearns. Might end up being his first major mistake with this club, because if it was just a 1-year deal, I wouldn't say much, but it's probably going to be a 2-year deal, as Frankie Montas more than likely is going to opt into that $17 million next year, especially coming off another injury for a guy like Montas. That move kind of is a head scratcher to me, but let me know what your guys' thoughts down in the comments. What would you be willing to give up for Cease right now? Let's be honest. Brett Beatty has showed out this spring. Acuna has showed out this spring. Maybe their value has recouped a little bit right there. And let's be honest, a lot of the Mets pitching prospects, they have 3 guys in their top, 8 prospects right now. Tung, McLean, and Sproat, who in my regard, Sproat is untouchable to me, and McLean is right up there too. He's regarded as a very high-end ace potential type prospect. I love his potential. Now, I wonder where the New York Mets stay with him. He's probably going to be making his major league debut this year along with Brandon Sproat, but it's all going to depend what they could do in the minors early on. Maybe David Stearns, who we all know is more than likely to hold on to those prospects, especially those pitching prospects, but we do have a gauntlet of major league ready prospects that are, fielders. You have the Jet Williams of the world, the Acuñas of the world, the Beatties of the world, the Ronnie Mauricio, who not a lot of people are talking about, who might be my favorite prospect out of all of them, considering his high hit velocity. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks so much for sticking around. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and always tune in, as we'll bring you the latest New York Mets content. And as always, let's go Mets. Take care.